Welcome all. In this video, we are going to understand a comparison between all these three offerings, that is the public cloud, the private cloud, as well as the hybrid cloud. We will see what are the advantages that they offer, as well as what are the different disadvantages which is applicable in their respective offering. So there is no right or wrong offering, or there is no one type of the cloud computing which will fit for every need. So it depends on the business need which we have. So considering these two aspects of respective offering, that is the advantages mixed with their disadvantages, we will be in a better position to decide what best suits for our business needs. Now let's jump. Now first we will see what the public cloud has to offer as advantages. So there is no upfront cost, that is no capex is applicable. Agile, it is the most agile in nature, which is quickly accessible. You can allocate, deallocate as per the need. Again, it follow the OPEX model, and in addition to that, it's a big follower of the consumption based model. Maintenance, there is no much responsibility for the hardware as well as on the update of the VMs. Skills, we don't need a deep technical expertise over it. Now let's consider the disadvantage, which is rarely discussed. Now in terms of security, there might be some specific security requirement which cannot be met by using a public cloud. So we have to keep a watch on that. The second comes the compliance. Again, we may be stuck down by some government policies, industry standard, or some legal requirement which the cloud computing or the public cloud cannot be able to meet. The ownership, since the organization doesn't own the hardware and the services, so this makes them to lose the control, and they cannot manage them as they may wish. So overall, just to summarize it with an example, if a business is having some legacy application, so it might be very hard to meet all this requirement with the public cloud offering. So overall, we have four disadvantages in this. One is security, compliance. The third is ownership, and again the fourth one is that of the scenario, legacy scenario, and all those things. Now we'll jump to the private cloud and see its advantages as well as its disadvantages. So as the name itself suggests, it's very private, so which in other terms will give you a complete control over the resource. The security, since we have a complete control, we'll have a more control over the security also. Compliance, when it comes to the compliance and other things, the organizations that need a very strict guidelines, security and legal requirement, a private cloud may be the only viable option for them. So if we take the example where it can fit, so it can be able to remove the limitation of the public cloud, that is for the legacy application, which public cloud might not be sufficient or cannot provide that offering. So this may be a preferable solution to run that application locally, and this support it. Now if you look at the disadvantage of it in order to decide which is the best, so here obviously we have some upfront cost, so a capital expenditure might be required by the organization in terms of the maintenance of the hardware, purchasing of the hardware. So this can be a burden for the startup, and it will also have an ongoing maintenance activity. So now the second point, agility. So private clouds, these are not agile as that of the public cloud. So unlimited scaling and all those things we will be able to lose. If we compare it with the setup we have for the on-prem kind of thing, then in that respect it is scalable. But if we compare it with the public cloud scalability, it does not offer a unlimited scaling. Now since we own everything, the organization owning everything, the responsibility of the maintenance is also there. So the organization has to take the responsibility for the hardware maintenance and its update. Again, since this maintenance is there, so skills, the last point, there is a skill disadvantage. The private cloud requires some expertise in terms of IT skills, and the others to minimize the cost or to maintain the cost and uptime of the complete hardware. So that's we have for the private cloud. Now we'll jump for the hybrid cloud. In the hybrid cloud, we have the number one advantage is it is the most flexible for any kind of scenario, since it's a mix and match between the public and the private cloud. So some part of the application we can put into the public cloud and some part of the application we can put into the private cloud. Hence, by utilizing the already invested expenditure of the company, plus if we have to utilize the scalability and governance of the cloud, will move some part, public facing part of our architecture into the cloud. So in terms of cost, this is also a kind of, I'll consider it as the advantage. So here we are free to do a mix and match. So the fluctuation which we have, or the demand fluctuation which we have, we can move that part into the cloud to address the sudden fluctuation, and once they are down, we'll scale it down. So cost wise, we are free to decide to put a cheaper storage or something and do it on ourselves. Now the best part of the private cloud, that is the control. The control is still there into the hybrid cloud, but it is limited to the entity which is highly secured in nature, which we don't want to host into the public cloud. So still we hold a control over some part which requires. Now security, the organization can still access the resources for which they are responsible for the security, and not for the all. In generally in any architecture, we are not responsible, or in other terms, the every component of the architecture does not require the same level of the security. So here we can do a mix and match between what needs a higher level of security compared to what needs a lower level of the security. So let's take an example. So if some legacy application is there, the legacy, and inside the legacy application we have some component that is limiting the hosting of that legacy application inside the cloud, then we can park that legacy component inside the legacy application in the private cloud, and rest we can modernize and push it to the cloud. So still that hosting of the legacy application can be made possible to have some parts running in the cloud, and some parts which is really not possible to host in the cloud is still available on-prem in the form of a private cloud. So now let's talk about the disadvantages of the hybrid cloud. So this will be again the mix and match disadvantage of both the public and the private cloud. Since we have a private component in it, so upfront capex is required, and when it comes to the costing, so purchasing and the maintenance of the private cloud and its integration with the public cloud is again a mix and match of the two deployment model instead of the one. So expense is there required, a continuous expense is required there. In terms of the skills, a very deep technical skill is required in order to maintain that integration between the private cloud and the public cloud. In any point, at any point, if that integration point or the junction is ruptured, then that will break the complete setup. So a deep technical skill is required. So now when it comes to the ease of the management, so organization there may be some confusion in terms of what things are under the compliance, and which component we have to move here and which component we have to move in the cloud. So organization has to come up with a very clear guidelines, to avoid all this confusion and any misuse, or in order to generate any complication further. So in order to just summarize it very briefly, so we can say that you can go with the hybrid cloud if you need a flexibility, it's most flexible. You can go with the public cloud if you need a highly scalable, agile. You are limited with some of the legal boundaries and compliances. That private cloud is a solution for you. Now let's jump into the quiz. We have this quiz questions. So the first one is, and you can go and paste the answer into the comment section and we'll reply you back. Thank you and enjoy the quiz. Bye.